right, Blake. Josh, you okay with the pledge? I'll say the prayer or invocation then. All right. Ready to get started? Looks like we have quorum. Be all right. We'll start with a Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Abelman, and then a moment of silence invocation, and I will take care of that. Go from there, Josh.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our most kind and righteous and eternal Father in heaven, we come before thee at this time and thank thee for the opportunity we have to meet as citizens and talk about our community. We are grateful for the freedoms that we enjoy and for the country in which we live. We ask thee at this time that thou bless us with thy spirit. Thou will help us to make decisions that will benefit our community and the people that currently live in here and the people that will live in here in the time to come. Father, we thank thee for all the many blessings we have. Ask a special blessing upon our armed forces, on our police forces, and those who protect our freedoms, that thy hand will protect them and guide them, and that they will be blessed. Ask a blessing upon our family as well as we are apart from them, that thou will protect them and guide them. And these things we humbly ask thee for, in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
All right. Welcome, everyone. It's a nice, warm evening, although Shauna says it's cold. All right. Bear with me a second here. I'm going to open up an opening meeting statement that we read during every planning commission. And I'll open that up and we'll go from there. All right. Well, come on, tablet, let's go. All those attending should have signed in. The Planning Commission is interested in receiving public input and treating everyone fairly. In order to treat everyone fairly, it is important that they understand that the Planning Commission is governed by Utah state law and the Plain City zoning and subdivision regulations. These codes can be found online, and they contain the criteria that the Commission must follow in making its decisions. The Planning Commission will make both legislative and administrative decisions during this meeting. Any legislative decision will be recommended to the City Council for final approval during their scheduled meetings. Persons making presentations or providing comments shall address the Commission from the podium or microphone and not from the audience. Individuals desiring to make comments during the appropriate public comments or public hearing times are entitled to 3 minutes. Persons shall state their name and address and will direct their comments to the Commission. Cheering, display of signs, or other conduct disruptive to the hearing are prohibited. Any person behaving disorderly, abusive, or disruptive may be excluded from the meeting. The Planning Commission has adopted rules regarding outside contacts, otherwise known as ex parte communication. Commissioners are not to engage in communications outside of the public hearing regarding administrative applications. If you desire to speak to commissioners, it should be done at a regular meeting, so your comments, concerns, and evidence are on public record. And I neglected to do a roll call. Looks like we have Commissioner Abelman, Commissioner Faulkner, Commissioner Neal, and myself. Commissioner Ortega and Commissioner Skeen will not be here. Okay. So right now, I will ask the commissioners if there were any ex parte communications with any of you. Commissioner Abelman, we'll start with you. Commissioner Faulkner.
None for me.
And I had none as well. Pretty quiet week. All right. All right, now is time for public comments for any item not on the agenda. When I say that, I mean we do have a couple items that are going to be on for public hearing. If you have comments regarding those items specifically, wait for the allotted time. If you have something else, please come up now and share what you have. Seeing none here in the meeting, I will ask if anybody virtually has anything to say. Please raise your hand now. Okay, don't see any, so we'll move on. Approval of the minutes for June 2nd, 2025. They include minutes for a work meeting and a regular meeting. Oh, excuse me, I'm skipping ahead, Blake. June 12th, 2025. We had a work meeting that day as well as our regular meeting. Were there any comments, any review from the commission?
I read through them, thought they looked good.
Okay. Thought they looked fine too. Yeah. Good job, Tammy. Then I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes from a work meeting and our planning commission meeting held on June 12th, 2025.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Blake? No. Okay.
We weren't going to tell him.
We weren't going to tell him.
If you lift that up,
Is there?
bottom.
I don't think that one does have a button. All right, working now.
Can you hear me now?
All right. All right, motion appears unanimous. All right, technical review report. So, we were kind of sparse there. We were all over the place. I had to entertain dignitaries myself that day. Yes, it was for my work, but, I couldn't make it, so. Deep Roots Development, I'll just read the minutes. Then Tammy, the notes you sent me.
Is Dan on the line? Or is he-
Could you please? So, Deep Roots first.
So Deep Roots bought 5.16 acres of Lake Quarry.
Okay,
And they talked about that road on the back of 2800 North. There was talk about that, and then also talk about the cul-de-sac.
mm-hmm,
Dan wanted them to, I guess, I don't know, a little bit past 2800 by Pappy's.
okay,
I guess we own that, the Plains.
Well, from what I recall from the technical review that we had regarding that property, they didn't have, there's not enough road there. And so they have to either do a kind of a rural road, but they have to give up so much of that to create even.
I believe they're gonna do something like that, cause they'll still come in the way you come off of Nate's.
of Corey's property,
Yes.
okay,
So, but there was just talk about them asphalting on 3475 up to 3475.
do we know what the zoning is for that currently?
I believe it's RE20.
Okay, it's currently RE20? So that can, in our future land use?
Well, are they going to rezone, or are they just going to use RE20?
Well,
They didn't talk about
they
that.
talked
Okay,
about
they-
that. I think
Oh,
they're just
okay.
trying to resolve their issues.
The access?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and the church,
And they had bought the property, I guess, what is it, 3650 West?
It's that property that Craig Jensen
yep,
had bought.
that's the one.
So the church has bought that, and they're going to build one church right now, and in the back, the south side, eventually they may build another church.
Okay,
So, and then they just talked about the two entrances. One's kind of on a curve,
Mhm.
North Quincy Road, and they wanted to do, Brad Jensen wanted to do a road study or traffic
a
study.
traffic study?
And mostly they just talked about water and things like that, so.
So how does that work? I mean, that's not really anything in a subdivision ordinance. Do they just come and show us what they're going to
Site
do?
plan.
Site plan.
Okay.
It'll be a site plan.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get everything ready and build next year.
And it's a conditional use, right? Is that correct?
Okay,
Okay.
yes. That's about it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tammy. Again, apologize I couldn't make it.
Same.
Same.
It was a busy week. Okay, let's move into legislative items. The first thing we have is to open a public hearing for the rezone from RE20 to RE15 of the DeVries property located at 3045 West, 1975 North. I will entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for the rezone from RA20 to RA15, the property located at 3045 West, 1975 North.
Mr. DeVries, do you want to come up and just kind of give a summary?
Do you have a second?
Oh, apologize. We do need a second. I will.
Second.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself here. Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion is unanimous. Mr. DeVries, if you don't mind. Sorry to get you all up here earlier.
What we'd like to do, our mother and father passed away in Plain City, and it was always part of the plan that there's two homes there. my brother would live in one, my sister would live in one, and there's 2 lots in the back. And that was just always the plan, that they were gonna break it up that way, and now across the street from the family home has been moved to, I believe it's called R15. And in the greater Plain City plan, that area is R15. It's currently R20, and where there's already 2 homes that sit there. My brother would like to live in one, my sister would like to live in the other. That was part of when our parents passed away, so that's why we're here.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Is there anything else?
That's all we need, I think. Anybody from the general public want to come up and say anything?
You have a lot of people online.
Do we? Anybody online at this time would like to say anything, please raise your hand virtually so Tammy can see you and she can unmute you. Okay. All right, no public comments. Then I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing concerning the DeFreeze property rezone from RE20 to RE15.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Rezone, now we'll discuss the motion to rezone that property from RE20 to RE15.
I'm looking at our future land use map here, and it's
Matches.
showing that it's RE15.
Mm-hmm.
So I see no issue with it to follow our future land use map.
Same.
Yeah, I agree. That's what our general plan shows, so it's in accordance with that, so I'm no problem with that rezone.
I do know Commissioner Skeen sent an email, I don't know if you guys seen that email, about
You did.
some of the questions that he had about it. He didn't really have any problems with it. He was just curious on the setbacks with the existing buildings. The only ones that I see might have a problem with the 2 sheds. And I don't even know what the measurements are.
Well, I think that applies to all, we need more information.
When it comes
I was
back
gonna
for
bring that
site.
up. When it comes out, up for a subdividing, we need more
With regards to property lines and. the
dimensions and
vicinity
setbacks.
So you'll just need to make sure both of those homes are conforming. Okay.
Correct.
The thing is, we still need to know the distance between that and the property line. It needs to be shown on your drawings.
So at the next step, when you come with a site plan, we just need those measurements. Okay?
Very good. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend to City Council rezone for RE20 to RE15 at the property located at 3045 West, 1975 North.
Second.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion appears unanimous. All right, thank you very much.
But now this goes before the City Council for the final approval.
All right. Next legislative item, discussion to amend the street cul-de-sac definition. And that's from Dan, right, Tammy? So the discussion in motion to set the public hearing, then we'll wait on?
Well, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, you can do that.
But we do want to discuss it.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest issue with that is
The matching.
we're defining we're calling out the way to measure the cul-de-sac 2 different ways in different areas. I know the definition where it's actually called out and it references, and I think it was 1553, says it's from center of intersecting street to center of turnaround, which that's for the variance and whatnot. That refers to the definition for the variance, but our actual cul-de-sac
Right.
ordinance says center of intersecting street to beginning.
Beginning of the cul-de-sac.
So, in my opinion, I would say we just match it to the definition called out,
Which would be the center line.
center line to center line.
Okay.
And then that would take care of all of our issues on that.
I agree.
Definition to the ordinance.
Oh, really? Switch it the other way? I'd be interested to see ask him why. Yeah.
That's why Tim
The
raised
issue I see with that
it. Talk about it.
is there's no requirement on maximum size of the bulb. You know, so you go 400 feet to the beginning of it, and then you have a 160-foot diameter bulb on the end of your cul-de-sac.
Right.
Now we just extended it, where if we go from center to center, it's going to,
That to me just seems more cut and dry.
and that's how our definitions wrote up in our ordinance already.
Okay. Okay, I'm fine with that if you guys are.
I'm good with that.
Okay, then we'll step on down to the discussion motion for the subdivision application for LH Perry Investment located at 3182 West, 2200 North. Mr. Jake Finlinson, would you mind coming up, Jake, and kind of describing this project?
Yeah, good evening. So we are proposing subdividing off about an acre of that frontage on 2600 North on the west end of our parcel.
So you're just saying an acre?
Yeah, it's a little bit more than an acre.
You say on the west end, is that where the existing house is?
Correct. So it encompasses the house plus a little bit extra to
Okay.
the east of that.
This is the one, we already had someone come in here from an auto parts.
O'Reilly's?
Riley.
Correct, yeah,
Yeah,
so.
when we got sent them back because we wanted to see a whole outline, and I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, so all we have is a subdivision, so the tricky part is us as the landowner of the remaining acreage. We are obligated to go through that subdivision process. Once it's approved, they can actually formally come in and show their site plan. And so my understanding was that they have come in and shown some of their site plan, but
Yeah,
that's not
right,
correct.
but we wanted to see the whole project, sitting like we did with Kent's, like that. We had the whole thing, and then they showed where their pads were and how the roads were going like that. We're not seeing that.
So it will remain in Greenbelt.
3 months?
The rest of the property will remain in Greenbelt, and
Oh, okay.
no, there's not gonna be any.
So, I believe our ordinance specifically calls out, if you're going to subdivide a piece of property, you have to subdivide the entire property, you can't just subdivide
I
a
think you
portion
can
of
call it a remainder parcel.
Remainder parcel, can.
parcel.
So basically you got 5 acres, you want to subdivide the 1 acre, and the 4 remaining acres would be the remaining parcel?
Yeah, I believe it's about 15 acres
Yeah,
remaining.
it's a lot
Oh,
larger
excuse
than
me,
that.
okay.
So, yeah, the remaining 15 acres will just remain undeveloped.
There was some question about the road, though. They were only going to own half of it.
Yeah, so.
Had a concern about who's going to take care of it if there's a problem.
Yeah, so as part of that, there will be CC&R language obligating a direct relationship between them and us, obligating the maintenance and.
If I'm not mistaken, this property is already zoned for commercial, is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, long time ago. Okay.
So are we we're using 2 parcels here, right?
Are we?
I believe
Yeah, so it is it's almost like a lot consolidation
So you've got,
and a
so
subdivision.
you got a 3.9 acre parcel, and then you've got a 14.5 acre parcel.
Okay.
Would it be more convenient if we did a lot line adjustment and made the parcel that you're wanting to develop the size that you want it to be? The remaining ground remains in the other parcel number, so you're not creating a new parcel number. Then you just develop the one parcel number rather than subdivide. Does that make sense?
Yes,
No.
it,
The thing is we need, I recall, and maybe you do too, is you've been in before, and it showed all that frontage having a commercial, like a strip mall type thing with the, to the back. And then you're showing like residences in the back, you know.
I think you came in for a technical review at one point, and you were talking about maybe condos in the back.
Yeah, and in talking with the mayor and staff, we won't pursue that at that time. So the only thing that we're planning on doing is just subdividing and letting O'Reilly's come in to develop their own, and probably down the road we'll come in and develop. But there's no plans for anything else other than UDOT and Rocky Mountain Power are requiring improvements along 2600 North as it relates to the construction of the O'Reilly's building. And so that would be, and that encompasses the full frontage of our whole parcel.
So you will do the infrastructure all along there, but only have O'Reilly as an actual?
Correct, yeah, so that whole frontage will be relocating the power lines in the ground, widening the right-of-way, and dedicating a portion of that over to UDOT.
So it sounds like have you talked to UDOT too then, did you say?
Yeah.
So that you're aligning the road where they want it?
Correct.
Is there currently an open ditch in front of that property?
There is on parts of it, and then there's the canal that runs north to south.
Right, the one that comes almost halfway through the property.
Yes.
So are your plans to pipe that entire ditch?
At the time when we develop the rest, we will either pipe it, most likely pipe it and bury it underground. But as of right now, we're not impacting that canal at all.
That's where I think we run into the problem with if you're making a subdivision out of the total 17 acres, even though you're only developing 1 acre of it, and I believe we're required to pipe the ditch in front of the entire subdivision, along with curb and gutter and sidewalk.
And if I read this site plan right, they're saying that ditch is going to be filled.
The ditch in front doesn't have anything other than just, I think, stormwater, and so we are coming in with
And
stormwater.
the ditch that runs north and south too, you've got the same note on there that says it's going to be filled, and it's the symbol on it. So that's not the case then?
We'll be filling in that ditch that runs east to west.
East to west on the front?
On the front,
frontage.
and then putting in storm drain improvements.
Okay. Because the way I read the site plan, it says that ditch running north to south through the property is going to be filled too.
There is, I believe, a ditch running north to south by the house.
By the house?
Yeah, so the canal won't be though.
Okay.
Canal will remain as is, but the ditch running north to south on the west side of the property
Okay.
will be.
So we've had developments with remainder parcels before, and we haven't required them to develop that, correct? Like that can just stay?
Correct.
Well, thing is that it opens us up now to do piecemeal type developing here. So I'd prefer to see that whole kind of like paths like we did with camps, proposed roads and things like that.
They couldn't do a lot line because they're splitting the parcel, so it had to be a subdivision. So it's kind of like a lot line adjustment, but it has to be, he's got to make a subdivision so he can develop that one piece.
And they couldn't do a lot line adjustment?
Because he has to subdivide it, so it has to go through a subdivision application. Does that
But-
make sense?
They should be able to do a lot line because they're not creating a new parcel number.
They are creating a new parcel.
But they don't have to.
The what will?
O'Reilly's.
O'Reilly's will be a new parcel.
But if they did a lot line, then that one could just keep that parcel number.
Yeah, if they change the 3.9 acre lot, which is 0024, to 1 acre, and then made the 14.5 acre lot, which is 0003, the 14, or the 17 acres, at that point, they wouldn't be creating a new parcel number. They would just be making one lot smaller than the other one.
I think it has a lot to do with the actual consolidation of that remaining piece
Okay.
into the one.
No, I see what you're
parcel.
saying now, yeah. Okay. And all the existing structures are going to be removed on that site?
So do you have water shares?
Yeah, so we've worked with Bonavista as well as
Well,
secondary water.
Pine View's.
Pine View.
Let-
Yeah.
Okay,
So Josh, how would that work? So if he just take a part of his shares and just applies it to that, it's one parcel?
For
I mean,
every
does the
developed
existing home,
acre, you have to turn
existing
it.
home might have,
Yeah, so I don't know.
Potentially, that's something we didn't even look at. We just have additional shares that we are contributing. So that could be a potential savings there, actually.
I mean, this is an availability.
Yes,
Oh, we
availability.
won't, we'll serve, right? Okay.
That's right.
Sorry, I still,
right?
See, if you look at that letter from Pine View that talks about provide water shares.
And it looks like you've addressed all of the comments from our engineer?
Correct.
Okay. How was a quick response from the 16th to the 17th there?
Well, there, I gave you all the, it's been going on for a while.
Has it? Yeah, I can see
I
that.
was gonna say. it's
So,
been a few- it's been a
April, you
few.
had a few more. Yeah.
A lot of that delay had to do with working with Bonavista and making sure they felt comfortable.
Okay.
So we're finally at that point though where we go.
so
UDOT,
just so we're
Bonavista-
clear, you're not really working on developing the other parcel for a while?
The only work that will be done is the off-site improvements in the road, and then O'Reilly's doing their construction. The remainder, there's probably not enough demand for retail or commercial use on that land for 7 to 10 years, is our plan.
It kind of contradicts what the project manager JDC Development said. Because I asked him about all that open space he left there, and their homes are sitting way back there. I asked him about that, and he says that's for commercial.
Well, it depends on who gets there first, I suppose.
Yeah,
right?
so, huh? So they must be considering there is a demand.
I mean, I thought they were putting like 1,000 rooftops in there. You would think there's some commercial.
Right.
I think with their plans, they're gonna take a lot of the demand from us. And then with the Kent's Market, that was kind of it's a lot to do with just like distances away from Kent's Market, and we're kind of like,
In the middle there, huh?
we're kind of in the middle. And so we're kind of in a tough spot geographically to do anything, at least right now. We're actively listing it and trying to get more people to come out. So we'll see, hopefully.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, this property came in before Kent's.
It's been rezoned for commercial, yeah, because initially it was supposed to have been something typical to Wood of Wainscott's.
Right.
It's supposed to be a grocery store there.
Be pretty tough to have two grocery stores.
It would be.
Close.
Yeah. I don't know, I remember in business class them talking about Blockbuster and Hollywood Video and how they'd always get adjacent to each other. So people had preference, they could find them easier or something like that. That was the rationale, but you don't see Walmart and Target building right next to each other very much. Okay? Any other questions?
I mean, we don't have a site plan from them, so I just will say the same thing to you I said to them. They've they had proposed something where their storefront faced the road, and the plan you brought in was opposite. It was the backs of the stores, and people would drive in and park there. And I'm not necessarily in preference one way or the other, but I just think they should match.
Yeah. And on the site plan, I think they will. I mean, they'll have to.
Yeah, I mean, largely from our perspective, since they're coming in first now,
Okay.
that will dictate.
Well, but
development in the future.
if you feel strongly one way or the other, I just think we should have them build it also that way. So that's all I'm saying is I don't want it to look so separated.
Agreed. Yeah, we're in agreement with that, so.
Okay. This was up for discussion and motion.
I know, I don't know.
Yeah, that's where
Okay.
Get a motion when we're just barely,
I was under the impression that the first site plan that I seen, it was just the site plan where O'Reilly's were, so I was under the impression it was just that parcel of ground. But now that we're combining parcels and subdividing two parcels at the same time, that's where it's kinda,
well, the other thing is we don't have will serve. So,
Do we need will serve at a subdivision, or do we need will serve? And I've asked this question before,
I mean, I thought we've said from the beginning we want it on the subdivision.
to start the process,
Yeah.
right? Okay. I'm probably gonna ask that question again.
It's okay. Blake will keep answering.
Okay. So just what I'm gathering from the commission is, most likely a motion that I see mostly on the table is that we'll table it until you get your will serve letters and bring them in
Will serve
from your utilities, from Bonavista
Oh,
and
and Bonavista won't issue it until you have it from Pine View.
You have to turn in those water shows at Pine View.
So all the communication we've had with Pine View and Bonavista is they won't actually issue any will serve until the time of site plan. Now, when we're in like this weird situation where we're obligated to subdivide to give it to O'Reilly's, and then we're not doing anything with the actual remainder parcel. And so O'Reilly's has the will serve for Pine View and Bonavista. The will serve letter we have from Pine View it's very generic. It's basically, once you submit your plans, we'll give it to you.
we've seen it before.
And they won't give me anything else, and so effectively, my hands are tied. I can't proceed with this project if I don't get subdivision approval.
well, it's currently not in Pine View's jurisdiction right now, is my understanding. So it actually has to go through the inclusion process
Right, that's what that letter
to
indicates.
be brought into Pine View's jurisdiction prior to a will serve or anything. So, and I'm not, this is the first time I ran into that, so I don't know if that needs to be done prior to.
Prior to us doing the
Yeah.
subdivision. Okay?
So tonight, they're just trying to get that parcel for
Right.
O'Reilly. They won't need the will serve for that other part. When they come back in and do their site plan, they will have those. But O'Reilly will have their own will serve when they come in with their site plan. This is just to divide the property tonight.
I know, but usually when we get a subdivision, we get
Right.
a layout.
All
with
these things
will serve.
reference Perry Commercial.
I mean, that's what we chose to go forward with is a subdivision application, and it doesn't have a complete application.
So at this
I get it
point,
that it's tricky, but I'm just saying that's the way we chose to move forward is a subdivision application, and then our hands are tied because we don't have what we need for a subdivision.
Okay.
at this point, can we subdivide the property? You guys are gonna sell lot 1 to O'Reilly's, and then O'Reilly's bring us their site plan, and we have to approve their site plan at that point?
But a site plan doesn't always come with will serve letters. Has it ever?
Have to. Yeah, Yes, they'll have to.
Well, I understand that, but we have had lots of people come in for site plans and they don't come in with will serve letters.
Can we make
Right.
that part of our motion if we chose to do a motion?
Yeah?
Riley's has to bring.
Contingent upon, as part of the site plan submittal.
I think so, like Sean's referring to, is a lot of those, especially down there, the square and all those stores right through that area, and they do a site plan. We're not asking for a,
They've probably already had that. They had their water.
well, we know that, but the thing is what we're saying, I agree with Sean, is that, we haven't inquired that. Right?
I don't think they would give it to you for his parcel, but when O'Reilly comes in, they would probably have to have it. You could put it in the motion. They can't do anything unless they.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying. We have a difficult thing here because it's two processes butting up against each other, so. I mean, I honestly don't think there's any way except to do it with a condition.
That's my thoughts, is that we make it contingent upon that, or with a condition upon that. And then it comes in, and when they come in, they have the will serve letters.
And I believe there's utilities on the property with the house, and in Brad's comments, he says if they can use them, they would use those too.
I mean, again, that's great, but that's just saying we believe that. We should be able to know all of that. Oh, okay.
Would it be helpful if O'Reilly's came in, I guess, if it's approved with conditions, would it be helpful if they came in at the city council meeting? I guess I'm trying to understand how to fulfill that condition when it's their submittal, right, with their site plan application.
I just think what's tripping me up is subdivision, and it's a commercial. So it just feels like we're doing two different things.
Okay?
I don't
Because
believe,
what the agenda is a subdivision application. It's not a site plan, and it's not, because you just simply want to divide. So then I go back to what Josh is saying. Why is it not easier to do a lot line? But I get it, they got to combine.
Right.
It just feels like, can you just move the lot line on the one parcel and not
Right.
combine the stuff later?
But because all that is in one,
Is it all in one parcel?
oh, no, all of the,
Could we just move the lot line on the one parcel?
I don't think we could,
I
we still
mean-
have two parcels, right?
You're not, this is,
Or
a-
in this case, might even have three.
But just move it on the
So-
one parcel?
when I built my house, I had the same argument with the city. They told me I had to do a subdivision. I said, no, I do not have to do a subdivision. I'm just doing a lot line adjustment. I'm not creating a new parcel. There's two 1 acre lots. I want to have a 1/2 acre lot and a 1.5 acre lot. I went through the attorney, I went through the public works director, I went through everybody. And finally, they looked at it and says, well, you're not creating a new parcel number. There's no reason why you can't do a lot line adjustment.
Okay.
What I was explaining to him from day one. So that's where, when I'm looking at our
Similar situation then.
ordinance here, I look down all the requirements for a lot line adjustment, and I don't see where you would be in violation of any of those to do a lot line adjustment. And at that point, now we're just,
Parcel that affects.
yeah, at that point, that acre or acre, whatever, however size that lot is, that you're going to transfer ownership to O'Reilly's, at that point, you transfer that over to O'Reilly's, and now O'Reilly comes in and decides they do their legwork on their site plan and what they have to do.
And then when
Unless I'm missing something on the lot line adjustment, because like I say, from what I'm looking, no new lot results from the lot line adjustment. You're not creating a new lot. You've already got two parcel numbers there. You're just making one smaller and one bigger. The affected property owners adjoining the lot line consent to the lot line adjustment. If they're gonna consent to a subdivision, they're consenting to a lot line adjustment. The lot line adjustment does not result in remnant parcels that did not previously exist. You're not. The remnants of that lot one is going to be absorbed by lot two, so there is no remnant parcels. And the lot line adjustment does not result in a violation of applicable zoning codes. It's all already zoned commercial, correct? So you're good on that one. And a subdivision.
Is it commercial?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's all commercial.
That's all
yeah,
that.
okay.
And a subdivision amendment is not required. So as I'm reading the ordinance here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see why they wouldn't be approved on a lot line adjustment. And now we don't have to worry about the remaining parcel. We don't have to worry about anything.
You can still come in later and combine it when you're ready to
Well,
develop.
at that point, you don't have to combine it. All you do is when you come back, now you subdivide parcel 0003. Because parcel 0024 is already subdivided. Now all you've got is the remainder, which is gonna be 003, and you subdivide that whole thing when you're ready for that. That's where I got thrown off. The original site plan I seen last time you guys were in here, it just showed a 1 acre parcel or whatever you guys had on that form with O'Reilly's there and how it was gonna be set up and the landscaping and whatnot. And now I'm looking at it and it's 17 acres that we're subdividing, and, you know, I'm looking at one of your plans has a site plan somewhat on it, and then another plan is vacant, and so I think that's where Commissioner Faulkner's run into the problems is do we need a site plan? Do we need all this stuff? Where just make it two
It
lots.
might simplify the process. for-
Yeah, if we just make it its own lot, then we don't have to worry about it.
I think from at least I think that would actually make it simple in some ways, but
At that point, you don't have to do anything in front of parcel 0003. You don't have to move any power lines, you don't have to fill any ditch, you don't have to put any curb and gutter in because you're not subdividing 003. All you're doing
Moving
is
a lot line,
developing.
but selling
UDOT,
it.
UDOT is playing hardball and they're still gonna be requiring it of us.
Gotcha.
And so I think that's where I'm kind of in a bind, where it's like UDOT's requiring this, and then even if we just develop.
Well, and you own the property, so you could put curb and gutter throughout the whole thing if you would like to appease UDOT, you know, so you can have that entrance onto the state road, whatever it takes to appease UDOT, but.
It's also that dedication to UDOT. And so I think the thought process behind the subdivision, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tammy, but it was kind of threefold to take care of that lot consolidation, lot line adjustment issue, establish what the work for the offsites that UDOT and Rocky Mountain were gonna be requiring. And then also as a vehicle to establish the new plat to deed over that land to UDOT. And so this just seemed like one big swoop of, this is how you accomplish it all in one.
I mean, if that's the way you want to proceed, and because of UDOT, then I think that what comes with that is we need will-serve letters and a site plan for all of it.
Site plan for the remaining parcel?
Showing the,
Not that you would necessarily be held to, but we need to see what your plans are for it.
So I guess my counter would be, our plans would be to show that stub on the east side off of 2600 north. That would be our plan.
so you do have,
It's literally just to put a curb cut in the road. That would be our plan for that parcel.
an overall site plan that shows that hammerhead, if you will, coming back. And you have both drive approaches into that extension. So you're not even going to address any kind of approaches from that site into 2600.
On the east side or the west?
I'm talking on the south side of the property.
Okay.
Into that, you're not even doing that of what you show here. But I don't know if that's,
I mean, I think that's from O'Reilly. I'm not sure if that's what they've given us.
yeah. Okay? So what are we thinking?
I mean,
Personally, I'd like to table it so we can look at, now that we kind of know what they're asking from us at this point.
Okay?
And I'm not saying table it for a month, I'm saying put it on the agenda for the next time we meet. That should give us sufficient time to look into it.
Very good.
Make sure everything is correct. Because like I was under the impression we were talking about a 1 acre lot here that was put in O'Reilly's, not a 17 acres.
Okay? Other thoughts, or is that what you guys, Sean and Blake?
Well, I think Shauna expressed it too, is that we'd like to sign although, okay, you're showing another stub road just coming into that remainder parcel. And
That's a UDOT
no
requirement.
other additional, because I know that you had plans for homes and stuff back in that back part there.
There was a concept that showed that.
And even at this, I mean, we have an ordinance specifically set for remainder parcels. It just needs to be called out on the subdivision plan that this is a remainder parcel. And at that point, when you re-subdivide that for future, at that point, we can have a site plan for that. It's just, there's so many things about this that doesn't follow our ordinances
Right.
correctly. You know what I'm saying? And that's, my
Yeah.
biggest thing is, we need to start following our ordinances, whether we need
Josh
to
says
talk to.
start, but he means
firm and let
continue.
them know that You guys need to start reading our ordinances before they start approving stuff and sending it to us, because it specifically says that it calls out exactly what they need to be doing for a remainder parcel, so.
So this was just the method we were told to go forward. I don't think there's a commercial site plan application in the city.
I don't know how that works. We definitely have a
So-
lot of commercial property where they do come in for site plans, so I'm not sure how that gets communicated to them, but they do come in and
Yeah.
show site plans.
So is the best path forward then to create a new application with new fees for the lot line adjustment and a site plan? Ben?
I mean, I'm not sure when you present it that way. I don't know if the lot line adjustment would also include site plan, because it's opposite. What's tripping us up is a subdivision application without a site plan.
I don't know why we've got, so if you look at that one right there,
Yeah.
technically this one right here follows our ordinances. You've got your lot number 1, where O'Reilly's is gonna be.
Right.
Then you've got this, and it's specifically labeled remainder parcel, like our ordinance calls out.
Just a note, when I met with you at the TRC, I liked your idea of the affordable, what do they call it now, attainable homes that you were thinking of doing back there. I don't know, I hate to see you give up on that. I thought it was a good plan.
I like it. I just got word that it wouldn't pass, so.
Well, not the high density, not the townhomes like that
condos.
we're talking about. And I think we recommended that you look at our
Residential overlay.
residential overlay, which are 7,000 square foot lots, smaller lots, real small. So it's a higher density. But, yeah, the townhomes wouldn't fly, but
I
Yeah, I
thought it
think-
was a better product than what's just down a little bit east, so.
Yeah, I think the most dense we could get by any overlay or any currently drafted zone in the city was about quarter-acre lots, or maybe it was fifth-acre lots. And so that
If you
just
take a
went-
look at our overlay, at our residential overlay,
Yeah, and I think that's what kind of, well, and the thing is, I remember when they left last time, I made comment that this would be the perfect area where that, because it was
Right.
and it was a ordinance that we were in the process of approving, and it has now gone through, that this would be a good place for that to apply.
yeah. I liked it. I hate to see you give up on it.
I think we could still proceed, and I think that's why we wanted some flexibility with working with UDOT on that second curb cut and establishing that now. Because if UDOT says yes now, you gotta act rather than the unknown in the
At this point,
future.
I see no problem approving that right there.
If that's what he
If that's
has.
the site, if that's what we're looking at, it's just, like I say, that is different than this, and it's different than this.
Yeah, you've
There are
got,
a lot of things.
Which one?
Could you confirm that this is the one?
Which one are we?
that is sheet, well, that's the plat, isn't it? So that's what we'd see. It's got all the data.
See, we get
Yeah,
this
so
too.
I see no problem approving this right here.
Signing.
This looks 100%.
You're signing this? No, it'd be this. But they've got it in here, don't they?
Right there looks fine to me.
this is what will actually be signed by.
There you are.
Yeah, I have no problem.
The rest,
So, it's just hard to see on that
It's,
size.
kind of the
Yeah,
offside
because is at this point, they can't do anything with that remainder parcel until they come back and submit another subdivision plan. So all they can do
Is the,
lot number one.
that first lot, that smaller lot.
Yeah, correct, because that lot will now be recorded with the county as the remainder lot.
Yeah, so.
it's these two. These were the ones causing us grief up here.
Yeah, no, this will be submitted, this will have to go through, I think, a separate motion, and this is a separate meeting.
Because
Yeah.
this is O'Reilly, right?
O'Reilly's. The hard part is this is off-site, like with this curb cut here. That's what UDOT is requiring of us to do for the O'Reilly's, believe it or not.
Sure. No,
So,
I've worked with you, Dot, I
But
understand.
that makes sense, especially if we go forward with probably putting some homes and stuff back there, you'll have that access.
Yeah.
yes, correct, but as of right now, that, we'll need to work through what the plan is on this and the frontage.
Right.
Okay. No, it's all right.
It's a complicated.
Well, you had different things and saying different drawings saying different things, I guess is what it was. But yeah, that is the plat, that's the one,
Yeah,
okay? All right, then I will entertain a motion.
This is not recommend, right?
No,
This
this is just a, yeah,
so this doesn't have to go to the city council, this is.
does not.
I'll make a motion to approve the LH Perry Investments at approximately 3182 West, 2600 North, according to the Plain City Commercial Subdivision Plan that we have here.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. We look forward to seeing how those two lots get done. Okay? Okay, good to hear. All right, we will go into Marsh Mountain View subdivision located at approximately 2200 north, 3450 west.
Yeah, that's what was throwing me off was.
I can see why. Yeah.
And like I said, I didn't pay much attention to it on the emails because I was under the impression it was just the one realize they were combining them all, and they were,
It was unclear. All right, so it looks like the site plan's been revised?
Correct, yes.
Sorry.
Sorry, they've asked me to speak. This is Andy Hubbard from Great Basin Engineering. I'm online.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Appreciate you joining us.
Yep,
Nice.
I apologize. I had some other conflicts, so this was the best way I could meet with you and be there today. So appreciate you handling it this way.
Okay? So
So-
Andy, can you kind of walk us through what changes happened between this, what we're seeing now and our last meeting?
Yes, so I've reviewed the section 1153 that defines a cul-de-sac in your streets ordinance with the city engineer and determined, based on that definition of the length of cul-de-sac, where the beginning of the cul-de-sac or beginning of turnout, as your code says, where that starts, and I moved the cul-de-sac north.
Okay,
So that the overall distance from intersection of street to beginning of turnout is 395.03 feet along the center line as defined in the code there, and reworked the lots to maintain frontage and square footage.
okay. Any concerns? That was the only concern we had when
the
we
only
were.
concern I had.
Is that right? Okay.
So you're saying that you're going to the beginning of the turnaround?
That is correct.
Right, that's,
Is that
that's,
correct, or what
that's the,
down here?
that's the way I'm reading it, so. That's where the radius starts.
Is it though?
You could debate it.
I think it's right here. I'm not saying that will make a difference, but it's the same length there.
Well, and he's just reading curve data. I mean, if you look at what I've got here, the radius, there's no, this is with the, where the point ends.
C13 and C8,
Yeah,
the radius.
Start of the radius.
Would be the beginning.
yeah, beginning of the curve. That's how I understand it too, Shauna.
This just doesn't, like you have a line, this doesn't have that.
Yeah, the 26.44 dimension,
I see what you're saying.
Is
Hard to
from
see on
the-
that scale, isn't it?
the half point
Okay,
to the curve, yeah.
And I
Beginning
think the previous plan measured to the center of that bulb and then south, where this one's following the radius of the street.
Correct.
So what I understanding is that we're using the other definition,
Well, and this is where,
which is,
It falls
which
on-
definition is in the, I guess we're not asking for a variance, but the only reason we're not is because they're using the other
well,
definition.
that's where our problem is because our ordinance on J specifically says center line of intersecting street to the beginning of turnaround. So by that ordinance, they followed the ordinance.
right.
One thing I just point out is that the.
Mark, you wanna give us your
Okay,
name?
Mark Peterson. Address or not?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Okay, 1678 North, 3450 West, Plain City. Just the definition was 2001. The other was in 2016, which probably takes precedent over the 2001. When it talks about because the 2001 talks about to the center of the cul-de-sac, and the 2016 one talks about to the beginning of the cul-de-sac. So I think that's where some of the confusion is, because it's,
And by that definition, I mean, I've got an approximate measurement that we took, was about 450 feet, right? From
From center to center.
center to the beginning On the other,
Yes.
On the
on the
other one.
original, and you've shifted it so that it's compliant with the requirement. Okay, so you've shifted it almost 25, maybe a little over 25 feet to north to get it to work, okay? Okay.
Yeah, the way I read the ordinance, the definition called out in 11.5.
Mm-hmm.
One, or 11.2, whatever the definition is,
Well,
it doesn't even pertain to the ordinance in here because, 11.5.3J doesn't reference the ordinance like our variance ordinance, or reference the definition like our variance ordinance specifically references the definition. So J has its own definition, which is center of intersecting street to beginning of bulb. So at that point,
Right,
the developer followed the ordinance.
right.
So until we clean up our ordinance,
This is, what-
we can't require the developer to
right,
follow something that our ordinance doesn't read. So at this point, if it's within 400 feet, I don't see a problem with it.
Okay.
We just need to clean up our
We
ordinance.
appreciate you guys figuring this out for us, that we have two definitions.
There's
well,
actually-
and every city has this happen. One was added or revised, and probably they weren't, I don't remember in 2016, I was around then, but I don't remember, discussing this, but in another section. That's why it's better
Is this
to
really
show
another
it
84
once.
feet?
So if you do that, that's a drawing adage, show it once, show it right, so, anyway. But we're kind of skipping ahead, but,
Yeah. Well, the only thing we can do is when we figure out that something, we fix it.
I agree,
You know, That's the,
yeah. Okay. Are we ready for a motion on this?
I think we're in agreement now, so
Yeah.
I think I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve Marsh Mountain View subdivision approximately at 2200 north, 3450 west for 31 lots.
Have a second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Appreciate you guys coming in and doing that, and Andy, thanks for working that out with us.
Thank you, appreciate your time.
Okay, very good. All right. I don't see Dan online.
I've been texting. He said he's having trouble.
Okay,
Do you want me to just call him and put him on speaker?
I'd rather have him in.
Do you want me
yeah,
to just table it?
Yeah.
I'm leaning more towards tabling it till he's in here, because I would like to get his point of view on this.
Yeah.
If he's saying opposite of what we're thinking.
Yeah, if he wants to go,
He said
The only thing I think is setting a public hearing doesn't make it so we have to have a motion that night. We could
Well,
get the public
We
hearing
just
done.
table.
I agree with that, Sean. I think we could get the public hearing done and still have the motion discussion on it.
Yeah.
You think? Okay,
So what are you gonna do?
we're gonna set a public hearing for it, and then we're still gonna, for the cul-de-sac definition,
What's the definition?
we'll discuss it.
Well, shouldn't we have that before, so the public can know in advance?
No, I don't know if we necessarily need to. That's my opinion. I mean, you guys are the ones making the motion, but I think, we've done that. We've set stuff and then we've revised the ordinance and tabled it before, and that's where I'm
That's what you're
coming
thinking?
well, technically, we're discussing it right now.
Right.
We set a motion for the public hearing. After the public hearing, we can have a discussion motion on, and then we can
Thing is,
discuss it
is we want
again.
Discussion to include Dan, and that hasn't happened.
But still, the public can be hearing, can still
Yeah.
be which definition they prefer, or any
'Cause
input they
it-
have on it.
Yeah,
We're
I
not
mean, Dan
obligated-
can join the discussion after the public hearing.
Yes.
Because if not, we're gonna be pushed out till August.
Right.
And if we have any more subdivision applications between now and then, we're gonna be running into this same problem. I say, let's just
I would
get it
like to address this
taken
sooner.
care of and fixed sooner rather than later.
Okay, well, on that, then, on the motion for the public hearing, I will entertain a motion on that.
Make a motion to set a public hearing on July 10th to amend the street cul-de-sac definition.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any further discussion on the cul-de-sac? Save it for the 10th. All right.
I mean, I just hope people can come with some good arguments for one or the other, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's important one way or the other. It was all based on what our fire department, the hoses could reach. And that when we had this big discussion about the variance, they said they can just put hydrants where their hoses can reach, so.
Right. Well, and maybe that's the thing, when I look at this, with regards to driveways and access, maybe,
I'm still not in
Biggest
favor of
thing
really
is
long cul-de-sacs, but I'm just saying
Yeah,
that 400 feet was
problematic.
still a little bit arbitrary, so.
You have a 1,000-foot cul-de-sac and something happens, and now them residents are not, they're not able to exit that cul-de-sac. You're affecting a lot more homes now than you would if you had a 400-foot cul-de-sac.
Right.
And as far as going to the center of the bulb, my opinion on that is, if you go to the beginning of the bulb, and instead of a 100-foot bulb, they do a 300-foot bulb, and now your cul-de-sac is 400 feet to the beginning, but it's 800 feet to the end,
Right. Right.
Because we don't have a maximum bulb size. We have a minimum, but we don't have a maximum, so it just,
It does feel like the center feels more
center to center would be.
accurate of a.
That's the way I'm leaning, but when I heard Dan, I'd like to hear. what
You know,
he'd
if Dan
have to
can't
say.
show up when Dan's supposed to show up.
Okay.
I'm not saying that to his,
I know, he's probably
I heard
listening.
that. Okay.
That's the best kind of argument right there.
Just texted, said, should I call in, and I told him no.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, the last thing we have is a motion to cancel planning commission meeting on July 24th, 2025.
Make a motion to cancel the public, our meeting for what, July
24th.
24th,
Yep.
I'll second.
2025.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. That's good since I'm out of town that day, so.
No, just for Jared.
Yeah, just for Jared, so I actually have to go speak at a conference, so.
So it's important at least.
Did you tell them it's a holiday?
Not for people in Minneapolis.
Sure it is.
Okay, report from city council.
Okay, that's me. First thing was Blake Jenkins, they gave him a plaque for his service on the planning commission. Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah,
And then the CPA, is that what Brian's title is, was at the meeting to present and to get final approval on the fiscal year 2025 final budget, the fiscal year 2026 final budget, and, what's that?
Dan's called her.
Oh, he also talked about the certified tax rate and about fraud risk assessments, so.
Okay.
The tax rate is increasing 0.000235%. So I hope you can handle that.
I hope so.
Every little bit hurts.
It's true.
That's, I'm writing that one down, yeah.
I did think there was a comment made on the 2026 budget that there's gonna be a closure of the landfill. Do you guys know about that?
No, I've never heard of that.
What?
There was a comment made, I think by Ryan, that the budget for fiscal year 2026, he said there was, I don't know if he's saying it would happen in '26, but he made a comment that an eventual closure of the landfill. And that's the first I'd heard of that.
No?
Is that something that somebody put in place 20 years ago and it's finally coming?
Possibly.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but I just thought it was an interesting comment.
Oh, that's,
That's the social hub for Plain City on Saturday.
boy, is it ever.
Right? I know.
Not to mention now our impact fees go up, so now we
Right.
got the tax increase and the impact fee increase.
They did say 2025, we had a higher income than projected, and that mostly came from building permits and franchise tax.
Okay.
So, they do want to increase the impact for sewer. They didn't talk about how much, so. Okay, we got a new city attorney and city prosecutor. There are two. So I don't know what the prosecutor's gonna be doing, but we have two. Oh, come to court, of course, okay. I thought maybe we were suing people.
I would have thought the same thing, that the attorney and the prosecutor would have been the same person.
Yeah.
It's a good thing we don't know.
Yeah.
That's good.
There was a gal that, she was just on Zoom, but she's from Still Creek HOA. I believe she was the new president.
Well, what was the name of the attorneys, did they say, or?
Blake, I did not write that down. Do you know their names?
Where's Rob when we need him?
Is who?
Tommy?
I do remember they said Tommy.
Tommy.
Holy Schnikes. Okay.
They're from the same law firm, but I didn't write that down either.
Okay.
Okay, so the gal from HOA, she's a president there in Still Creek, and they wanted to donate some property. It's property that Dan is in agreement of accepting, but there was some concern on the council that it would set a precedent that anytime there's property in HOA or even a development doesn't want to take care of, then they would donate to the city, and then we're just taking care of it. So they just well, it wasn't even a motion, it was just a discussion, so they wanted to get more input on that. They approved the extension for Homestead Acres. That's the Visionary Homes, and I'll come back to that in just a minute. They approved a resolution for an interlocal agreement for technical forensic services, and they canceled the July 3rd meeting. On the Homestead Acres, it came up again about those homes being fenced that are losing quite a bit of their property.
Oh, yes.
And, I mean, my comment was that it fits our ordinance, so there's not really a whole lot we can do there, but they still had concern, and I think that's valid. It just made me think that perhaps we need to take a look at our ordinances. If everybody's uncomfortable with that amount of land being fenced off from a homeowner, then if they're meeting our ordinance, we can't really do anything.
Nope.
If it's such a concern, then we need to look at the ordinance and update that. Or even if it needs to be updated, at least talk about it.
Right.
So that was my comment about that. Not only the fencing off the property, but do we want it to be optional if they can fence against a waterway, or if we want them to always be required to pipe it?
I think you want to fence off the waterway. I think not doing it opens up a Pandora's box.
Well, I think it's two different ordinances. You got the one ordinance that it's a utility right away and you have to pipe it, and then the other ordinance, like what they're talking about, I don't believe
And
really
that's
can
one-
be piped.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
That's
they're
gonna
saying.
take some
is
big
that Army
pipe.
Corps has told them they can't pipe it, so.
You know, so that's where you run into the problem, where any kind of open waterway, safety reasons, we have
Yep.
to have it fenced. You know, we'd hate to say, you know, we're gonna give you the option to either fence it or not fence it, and then we have a little kid drowned in.
Right,
Because
but-
it's not.
But then you got the property owner saying, that's my land. I'm paying for that land. So,
Anyway, I just think
Yeah.
perhaps we could talk
Sure.
about both of
Yeah,
those.
that's something, that's,
Hey, my biggest concern on that was when they said that they was gonna put the fence at the top.
I know you talked about that, and I agree, like, do we need to say fences need to, something about the land, right?
grading.
Yeah, So again,
Base of the slope.
right now, how do we enforce that when it's not part of our ordinance? I don't know. I'm not saying
Well,
we
that's the reason we had that sensitive land use ordinance, was to prevent that, because we did have people in that one subdivision that was digging into it, and then all of a sudden, we're getting water, and they're complaining about being flooded.
So is that something that Dan can bring up when they're doing their building, or, I don't know how we address it right now. Because we already approved their final. Anyway. Okay, in the meeting, they also approved the ordinances we had sent before them that had changes. One was it's under street sidewalks and public ways, but it was addressing the water going onto, like, purposely diverting it onto other people's property. And then building regulations, which was Dan wanted to have the infrastructure done before any building permits or land being offered for sale. And then the subdivision the development agreement. And then Jacob from Hanson got online to help with that, and he specifically talked about that the retainer can increase if we need it to be. So anyway, they seem to like all of the suggestions we
Good.
had in there, so I think they'll be.
Sounds like that was a good meeting for you to
Yeah,
attend.
Me?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
not very good at taking notes.
Oh, that's my thing. There was a comment from Jan Wilson that Fremont has said no to do the play there. I don't know if you guys recall, there was a
all right.
gal that came in and wanted to start doing plays for the city and have the
They
city.
found a new location, though.
They're in North Ogden, and it's at that, I forgot the name. of it.
Amphitheater?
Amphitheater, thank you. So they're gonna be okay there.
School said no, it was, they
Too
thought
much
it
of a
was gonna be
liability.
1 or 2 days, but it ended up being, it was gonna be like 2
That's right.
weeks or something, and they said, no,
She
we can't
wanted-
tie it up.
She wanted 3 weeks, and they
Wow.
said, we can give you a couple days.
Yeah,
So, I wish there was a way to work that out, because I truly think that for Founder's Day, that's the way to get people back, is to have something,
yeah.
a bigger cultural event
And
like that.
they've done Founder's Day events at the high school. It'd be good to tie that in, so.
So, if they could practice the play somewhere else and just do a dress rehearsal there, maybe that would work, but not with this gal, so that's okay. Jared, could you get on that?
I'll do my best.
Okay.
We moved that to Blake's backyard.
Councilperson Bill, Councilwoman Bill, I don't know how we say that correctly, she wanted to promote the CTC training. I noticed on Facebook, she just posted they've had 0 people trying, sign up for that. I think it's a good thing, maybe it just didn't get enough, notice or blasted out to
Read
people.
There was some comment saying this is the first we heard of it.
Yeah.
Which surprised me because
I saw it the first time too, so I don't know. Maybe I spend too much time on
you spend too
Facebook.
much time on Facebook.
Yeah. She said there's an autism group that's donating sensory bags for autism, and there's a special needs pool party at North Shore on July 26th.
Okay.
And no other comments, except the mayor just wanted to point out we're having Colin Ray on July 3rd. It's a big one. You need tickets to get in. I'm just kidding, but it's a big one.
All right,
That's all I got.
thanks, Shauna. Commission comments, Blake?
Yeah, I've been thinking about, developers came in and talked about the Jackson property like that, and also the Sage Creek, and going back to accesses, for the number of homes and things like that. Right now, we're only gonna have 2 accesses, basically,
For which development?
between Sage Creek and the Jack,
Oh, you were even saying all those people out there and,
like that.
Well, are you talking the accesses to the actual subdivision or the access to that
To
entire area?
arterial or road.
To arterial says like off of 3900 or something like that, because that's where they all are gonna end up. Right there.
I mean,
Oh,
is that something we can address on the general plan and put some roads where we need them?
Good.
We can,
Why are we paying for the roads are good the way they are right now. why are we paying to increase the infrastructure to make it easier for the developers? That's my biggest thing, is
See what you're saying?
we,
Yeah.
we've been paying taxes here our whole lives. This developer decides he wants to develop his land,
And he doesn't wanna pay for, he doesn't
and
wanna
now
pay.
we have to increase the infrastructure to handle his development. By the time the people that move into that development pay as much taxes as we have, you know, that's the biggest problem that I have, is the infrastructure improvements end at the development property line. It
Is
needs
that
to
something
be-
impact fees pay for?
Well, I don't know about that, but that kind of goes back to our previous discussions about, 30 homes, then they have to have a second access. Well, then they're able to do another 30, but then.
We don't even have a limit on the second one.
I know.
It's only after 30, right?
So,
So maybe we
so
should think about that
that's
in our
what we
ordinance.
need to be looking at.
So instead of a
So if
general
we don't
plan
have-
issue, maybe it's an
Well, we
ordinance.
did amend that ordinance to say something about when it's more, we can require more accesses.
Did that get passed?
Yeah.
Did it?
But
Okay.
are we talking about accesses to the actual subdivision, or are we talking about access to the area where the subdivision is? Because you can put a subdivision, or an access to the subdivision after every house. But it's the area where you've only got, 4,000 that comes from Smith and Edwards, and then you've got 3,900 that come, that's the only two access roads to how many homes are we gonna put in there? I mean, eventually it ties into 5,900, or if that ends up going through, but now you got the way our city's set up, if we have a natural disaster, and especially, the only way we can leave this city is by going over a waterway.
Yep.
Unless we go out 1,500. You go out 1,500, I guess but eventually you're gonna have to go over Weaver River, so.
But we have the potential to be completely landlocked.
Which wouldn't be a horrible thing,
But if
but,
you- But if you look at
No.
what's going on there on 4,000 right now, how they're having to make all these turn lanes now because the subdivisions, traffic and the backup and stuff like that, from what I'm understanding.
On
I
4,000.
mean, it's a good point.
Yeah.
Drive
Like,
that.
we can require all the accesses we want, but what about those main roads?
it's the area,
Right.
that's what kills us.
Right.
I don't know, is there rules about what you can require developers to do? We should probably look at that.
Like what constitutes an undue hardship on a developer and what doesn't?
Because
What
even the
constitutes an
scheme,
undue hardship on a city?
Yeah, exactly.
At that point.
I will say, like, years ago, I did, it was a commercial development, and the city asked for us as part of the development to put an alleyway on the back end of that property, because it was on a corner property. And they said, you guys are gonna do it. Now, the client that I had was gracious enough to say, okay, fine, we'll be fine, but I was, wanting to fight it as his representative, and
Well,
similar
that's
concept,
the
right?
benefit that we have with the Jackson property.
Right.
Because if the Jackson property was developed according to our current zoning regulations, we wouldn't have to worry about 1,800 homes going in there. They want to do an overlay, they want to do a development agreement, and at that point, we can require them to do whatever they want, whatever we want them to do. If they choose not to do it, we don't approve the development agreement. If we think that the infrastructure needs to be approved, if we think the roads need to be widened, if, at that point,
And as part of the development agreement, we.
if you don't want to do it, then build them on RE20 or 18,500 square foot lots at that point. But we've got to have a planning commission and city council that will stand up to the developers and let them know that we're not here to make their life easy. We're here to protect the current citizens of our city. We want to welcome anybody that wants to move in, but we still want to protect the ones that are already here.
Right.
That's my biggest thing. I'm getting fed up with people moving from one area because they're tired of that area. They move here and then they want to change here into the area that they just came from. It's like,
Thought that's,
makes no sense to me.
yeah.
So I don't know, my thing is, I think let's to go back and review, make sure we got us covered regarding Because if we have that big, large
Well,
development going
especially
on.
because there's no homes on it. Sometimes we look at a general plan and think a road's good right here, but there's homes there now. How can you say that's a future road when
Right,
there's homes there?
running
But
through homes.
that particular area isn't developed yet, so.
Okay, that's all I have is this
Good,
access.
Blake. Got us going.
Shauna?
I don't have anything tonight.
Josh? I don't have anything either, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you guys.
I don't know if the meetings are getting shorter or the days are getting longer, but this
That's
twice in a
kind of
row we
nice,
left
isn't it? Yeah.
Josh, you just cursed us. Thanks a lot.
what?
You just cursed us for the next meeting.
Recording stopped.
Well,
I don't know why, but I came with 2 pairs of glasses.
I noticed that. I thought, well, one must
It's
be
'cause
reading
I had
glasses.
one here and then I
Oh.
grabbed another one.
Okay.
I have two pair,
Did you need
I don't know, I don't do bifocals.
Oh, me either.